Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Around South Jersey. One of my very special guests is with me tonight, Joe Condo, who is the man. No matter what he touches turns to gold. You got that gift?
The Midas touch, I guess,
You
yeah.
sure do. My
Yeah.
gosh, congratulations once again. I
Thank
know there's a little bit of a setback
Yeah.
with is it official that
The results have not been certified
Okay,
yet,
I
but
gotcha.
the final counting is done. And
Okay.
it looks like Celeste Riley will have been reelected by a relatively comfortable margin.
Right.
Tony Romero was reelected.
well, he did well.
Tony did very
Yeah.
well, and unfortunately at least for our party, Joe Cilio
Yeah.
didn't quite make his reelection, and former Sheriff Bob Ostino will likely be the next commissioner. The only reason I say likely is because we're still within the recount window,
Right.
and I don't
Yeah.
know whether the Republicans are going to request a recount or not. It's about 50 votes difference
That's what I'd heard.
between
Yeah.
Cilio and
Yeah.
Ostino right now. But even though that doesn't sound like a lot of votes, 50 votes is a lot to make up in a
Yeah,
day and age
after
where
everything's
the machines
brought
are
in. Yeah.
electronic.
Right.
Back
Yeah.
when you and I were
Yeah.
kids and everybody had to vote on the machine,
Yeah.
the biggest source of error in the vote counting was transposition of numbers,
Yes.
because they had to read them from the
machine,
machine
right.
and write them on a piece of paper that
Yeah.
then had to go to the clerks. And so often you would see a transposition. 230 votes became 320, or the other way around.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And so you would find a lot of them. My very first election in 1989 resulted in a recount, and my election to the Board of Freeholders in 1990 resulted in a recount.
No.
So my first two elections were
90 you won, though, right?
90. I won the freeholder race, but it's interesting. I go back to my 1990 election. There were 5 candidates on the ballot in Camden County in that day, and 4 of us won quite comfortably. But the county clerk, the Democrat county clerk, held on.
Oh, okay.
And so
Something
it's
similar
really,
here.
really mean.
Yeah.
Shout out to Celeste Riley.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Celeste, and look forward to 5 more years of her doing her work for the county. But it is hard to unseat a county clerk.
And another thing, a Republican friend of mine said to me, he said, Jim, I'm voting for Celeste. I said, yeah, why? He said, when she was a state assemblywoman, she took care of things for me. I called, I got response. And I had forgotten about that.
Right.
That she was a state assemblywoman.
And that's just it. She was the
Yeah.
Bridgeton councilwoman,
Yes,
if I'm
right.
not mistaken, state assemblywoman, clerk for now 10
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and large family, obviously.
11 people.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
Good Catholic
I
family.
wasn't going to bring that up, but yeah, good Catholic family, 11 kids, and and very well known, and so we knew, especially in a presidential year, we were going to have our hands full trying to unseat Celeste Riley. Didn't expect the commissioner's race to be as close as it
No,
was.
I didn't. I honestly, and I think I said this before the election, I honestly thought it was going to be another Republican sweep
Yeah.
because I knew Trump was going to win Cumberland County. And if you look at the Republican ballot, you had Trump and Vance, and then you had Bayshell,
Yeah.
Curtis, and then under that you had Van Drew, who everybody loves,
Right.
and then under Van Drew would be Tory. So I'm thinking, well, people aren't going to go down that line, get to Van Drew, and then jump over to Celeste. But
Well, you were
they
wrong.
did. I was. You just tell them how dumb I am.
You and me both. So it's clear. I mean, there's no how to. We weren't sure. I know you had said before, even when I was on the show, that you expected Trump to carry Cumberland
Yeah,
County, and we
exactly.
expected it to be pretty close. It wasn't close.
No.
Trump carried Cumberland County by big numbers. Kurt Bashaw carried Cumberland County.
George, do you want to put those up? The
Yeah.
numbers.
And then, of course, Jeff Van Drew, big numbers.
The Senate one. Well, let's break down the line. We could start with the presidential one if you want, because we just talked about Trump winning Cumberland
Yeah,
County. Yeah, that didn't surprise me at all.
right.
Well,
That was surprising to a lot of
Wasn't
people,
that
including me,
unbelievable?
that he won every
Yeah.
single swing state
Yeah.
by numbers that, I mean, even he only lost New Jersey by 5 points.
Yeah, I know.
He only
Yeah.
lost New Jersey
Yeah,
by 5
exactly.
points. There aren't a lot of states out
No.
there where it was as close
And
as
he
it was
won
in New
the
Jersey.
total vote too.
The popular vote, so there's
yeah.
no complaining this time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, so clearly,
Well, there you see the 5
yeah.
points that you're
right,
talking about.
Right. So in New Jersey, I guess it looks like it was 5 point something.
Yeah.
5.5 by the time all was said and done. Even still, 5.5% is. For some reason the numbers up top and the numbers at the bottom are. Oh, Cumberland County. I see.
Yeah,
Cumberland
that's
County's on the
because
bottom. Right.
Joe Condo was working Cumberland County, and that's why Trump won. You see,
I'd like to think that, but I think Donald Trump has more to do with Donald Trump winning Cumberland County than Joe
well,
Condo
I'm
does.
sure to
Appreciate
Senator Testa's credit, he has a great relationship with him, and
Senator Testa does
Yeah.
have a great relationship with President-elect
he
Trump.
helped a lot, too.
And he was the co-chair of President Trump's campaign in
that's
in
right.
2020.
Yeah, and I saw you guys out to the Republican
Yeah,
convention.
yep.
Fantastic.
Senator Testa and I
Yeah.
got to go to the Republican National Convention together, which of course was the highlight of my political life.
Sure.
But you
Gosh.
could see that the president won Cumberland County, even though he
Yeah.
lost New Jersey by a
Yeah.
little over 5
Yeah.
points. He won Cumberland
I'm
County.
sure he won Cape May too.
Oh, he won
Right.
Cape May. He won
Salem,
Cape May.
probably.
There's a red blue map. Everything's a red blue map these days.
Yeah.
But there's a red blue map that shows that Salem County, Cape May County, Ocean County. He just crushed her in those counties, and he carried Gloucester County. He carried Cumberland.
Did he
County.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the two. Yeah,
There he is.
They're,
Yeah, you see.
Oh, that's Jeff Van Drew's
Oh,
numbers.
Jeff's,
Those are
okay.
Jeff Van Drew's numbers. And so, yeah, I mean, Jeff obviously crushed his opponent.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely
Wow,
no
that's what 17.
17 points,
Wow.
right? So there's no surprise there
No.
that Congressman Van Drew was reelected easily, but a 17-point victory is really nice. When you get into the 60-40 range, that's the real deal.
Yeah.
And Congressman Van Drew has proven to be the real deal for our party here. He
Yeah.
carried Cumberland County by big numbers too.
Yes. Well,
So
nice.
right, and there they are. So
Yeah.
so Congressman Van Drew is up by 4,000 votes
Right.
going into the county. So the point here's this is for political insiders, and I don't care who hears the impending analysis because it's just data. But what we have to figure out, you have said before, Jim, when you've had me on the show, that the challenge for Republicans in presidential elections is that the Democrats come out to vote and don't always vote in between. What we don't know yet is we can see that there was a lot of votes for Trump and Van Drew that didn't
Yes,
make their way
exactly.
into the Republican column for the county race.
Right.
What we don't know yet, and we will find out, trust me, I didn't get so that I win elections by not analyzing when we didn't do so well. We will find out, is this a protest vote by people who would ordinarily have voted straight Democrat, but were so dissatisfied with Washington that they moved over to vote Republican for the federal candidates and then came back home to the county vote?
That's a good point.
Or is it that these are people who would ordinarily have voted straight Republican and are sending a message to the Republicans in Cumberland County by moving over to the Democrats on the county level? And so, unlike the national Democrats who don't seem to want to get a message, we're willing to understand if the voters are giving us a message. So we're going to figure out which it is. And we're going to find out whether there's a lot of love among otherwise Democrat voters for our positions in Washington, or we're going to find out whether there's a lot of unlove by our own people here in Cumberland County. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to shore up our defenses, and this ain't going to happen again.
Yeah, no, I understand. It was, with all the plurality, and as I thought it would be all Republican. And I must say, I had Commissioner Sandy Taylor on, and we were talking, and I said during the time she and I were talking about the election thing, that all 6 candidates I really like. They're all good people. I couldn't say a bad thing about any one of them. So I knew 3 good people were going to win, and they did, and 3 good people lost, unfortunately. And I've been on both sides of that aisle, so I understand, what they're doing. But it was very interesting. It really was. As I had said, I knew Trump was going to win Cumberland County.
Well, you're
but
right about that.
I was surprised how it split up. I
Yeah.
didn't think the Democrats would have a chance. Now, Bob Ostino had been in 15 years sheriff.
15 years as sheriff,
So,
yeah.
and he's got good name recognition and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. But, and Tony Romero did a fantastic job. Wow, he was way
Tony,
there.
let's
here's the-
here's the numbers. I mean, you can see that Tony was the top vote getter with 26,000 and change, and then next comes Bob Ostino at 25,800 and change, and so he's only 50 votes ahead of Cilio.
Right, yeah.
51 by this count. It's still changing because there are still straggler ballots, but we're. I don't know if you want to go down this path, but I'll lead us down this path, and you can pull me back if you want. But a lot of talk about the fact that it took so long to count the ballots, and there's a general misunderstanding as if the Board of Elections has been counting ballots since Election Day. The state law, and there are varying opinions, and they're strong on both sides about whether this should be the law, but it is the law. We have until Wednesday, basically the Tuesday after the election, a whole week, for vote-by-mail ballots to come in. As long as they're postmarked by Election Day, they're countable. And you have to wait 7 days.
Okay.
So we had to wait for the vote-by-mail ballots to come in before they could be counted, obviously.
Right, sure. Yeah.
But more than that, we had to wait for the vote-by-mail ballots to come in before they could count the provisional ballots. Because the most likely source of a provisional ballot in this day and age is someone who is on the vote-by-mail list, presumably received a vote-by-mail ballot. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But you have to wait to make sure they didn't already return their vote-by-mail ballot before you can let them vote again on Election Day.
Oh, good point. Yeah,
So they
I
file
see
a
why
provisional
I
ballot.
wait.
That's why there was such a huge number of provisional ballots this year, like 1,300 more or less.
Wow.
And so you have to wait till all the vote-by-mail ballots are in to see whether so they weren't counting for a week. They had to wait for a week before they could count.
Right.
So they counted them all on Wednesday of last week.
Yeah, makes sense.
And there's still some stragglers that they're still that gets disputed or whatever, but not enough to change the result. So I haven't heard an official word from the leadership of the Republican Party, but I'm quite confident that we will probably not see a recount in Cumberland County.
Yeah. So what we had before the election was 9-1 Republicans, with only Celeste being the only Democrat. Now we're 8-2 with one county commissioner being Bob Ostino, and of course Celeste getting her clerk's position back. So there you see the final with Celeste and Tory.
Right.
And
so you can see where there was a little bit all over the place in the county election, because Celeste Riley won by about 1,800 votes. Yeah. Where Tony Romero, if we went back to those numbers, I'm not asking you to, but if we went back to those numbers, I think you'll find that Tony was up by about 1,100. So we have Celeste at 1,800, then Tony at 1,100, and then Ostino at 50.
Yeah.
So it was
wow.
It was it was a little all over the place, which showed me something. I don't know what it's showing me, but it's showing me something about the fact that it wasn't as much of a party line vote as I would have expected in a hotly contested and contentious presidential election. But even as I've said to Celeste before, when she and I are speaking sort of informally, anything can happen in a presidential election.
Yeah,
and what we saw here is a little bit of anything could happen.
Yeah. And again, though, it surprised me because I knew Trump was going to win Cumberland County. Usually, the Democrat wins Cumberland County. But as we talked about, unfortunately for Harris, there were just all kind of bad things. I mean, the economy, her being tied to Biden, and the whole situation.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah,
there was a lot going on.
Yeah,
and you could see that it wasn't just Cumberland County. Actually, I think makes a nice microcosm for the swing states.
Yeah,
and you can see this year it actually proved to be true. I mean, Cumberland County is so racially and ethnically and economically diverse that it really does. It's a swing county, if you will. I mean, it's not a bright red county, and it's only recently become a red county.
Yeah.
So it is a microcosm in my mind for the swing states around the country, and the swing states, all 7 of them, did exactly what Cumberland County did, where Trump eked out a couple of points, but that was enough. But he won them all handily.
Came close to winning New Jersey.
He came close to winning New Jersey. 5 points is nothing to sneer at in a presidential election.
No, especially not. We're talking with Joe Condo. We'll be back to talk more about election results right after these messages.
Many people treat their health like a game. With Complete Care Health Network, it's easy to start your healthcare journey. Just select from our specialties and schedule online, by phone, or on our app. Our entire team communicates with one another, so everyone works together on your total health. Plus, we make it even easier with all of these additional benefits. Level up your health with us. Complete Care Health Network. No games, just great health care for everyone.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
Hey, check this out. Hernia repair.
Ain't nothing, man. Kidney surgery.
That's nothing. Gallbladder removal.
That's nothing. Spinal repair. I don't see nothing.
Exactly.
Minimally invasive robotic surgery at Inspira Health. Scar so small, It's almost like nothing ever happened.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here. And if you're having a hard time hearing, call MD Hearing because they changed my life and they can change yours too. I was wearing expensive hearing aids for years until a good friend of mine told me about MD Hearing. I bought a pair of the hearing aids with no doctor visit, no prescription, and no hassle. I got fitted right over the phone and I've never had a better pair of hearing aids. I'm even wearing them right now.
Call now and get 2 rechargeable Neo hearing aids for just $297 with a free portable charging case and free shipping. The rechargeable Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design, and you can get 2 rechargeable Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime U.S.-based support for only $297.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call 855-993-1930.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest is Joe Condo, who is the he is the director of the
Political operations.
Political operations. That's it. Thank you.
We'll go with that.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate it.
We'll go with that.
Plus, sometime we're going to have to talk about his real job, which is being a patent attorney. So, I mean, that's very impressive, you know. And every time I watch Shark Tank, I wonder how many of those people you've worked with.
Right. None that I know of. None that I know of. I'll leave it at that. If I did, I probably couldn't tell you. But yeah, it's interesting because especially, you know, even when I'm on your show, we're always talking politics, and everybody in this area that knows me because I'm a politician. But my day job is not. I'm not a full-time political consultant. In fact, I'm not even a professional political.
You're a professional in my book.
Well, except that I don't get paid for it. So
I knew where you were going with that.
Except that I don't get paid for it. But my day job is, I'm a patent attorney, which is really pretty cool because I'll tell you a story now. That's how I ended up in Cumberland County in the first place. I ended up representing a Millville resident in connection with a patent. And then we became really good friends, and I've been hanging around ever since. That was back in 2011.
Wow.
When I started my own law firm in 2011. So contrary to what the political circuit believes, I've actually been tooling around Millville for a lot longer than 2019 when I got involved in Senator Testa's first race.
How did you meet Senator Testa?
I literally sent him a Facebook Messenger message that said, "I hear you're running for Senate in this special election. I'd like to, introduce myself and raise an army and a war chest to get you elected." And he got the book on me, which anybody that gets the book on me gets both sides of the story. But
I've only heard good sides. I don't get the negative.
Gets both sides of the story. But he said, all right. So it turns out I was moving into the sliver of Atlantic County that he represents. Yes. So it was purely a coincidence because that was the only Senate seat up in 2019. Okay. So I really wanted to contribute in some meaningful way. Now, most of my political life has been up in Camden and Burlington counties with a little smattering of Gloucester and Ocean, but mostly Camden and Burlington. And so for me to come down here, I had to introduce myself to everybody because nobody in the Southeast really knew me. Yeah. Mike Testa didn't know me. But his political consultant at the time had known me for many, many years. And so, he got the book on me, like I said, and then I showed up at a fundraiser with a couple of local folks, my Millville friends that I was referring to earlier. We showed up at a fundraiser, introduced myself, we got to meet, and I worked at Atlantic County and the eastern portion of Cumberland County that year for him in 2019.
Okay.
And then over the course of time, we've just become, not just political allies, but very close personal friends. I often have Sunday dinner at the
Ellen make
household. No, we go to Mike's house, and he and his wife and his daughters cook, and I sit in the dining room and wait to be fed, like my grandfather used to do. So yeah, we become very good friends, but we did not know each other prior to his race in 2019.
Wow, yeah, what a great guy. He's just an amazing person,
absolutely.
And you're pretty darn good yourself, and that's a good combination to be able to have you as his right-hand man and all the success he's had since you've been with him. And I know a lot of it is both sides. He's worked very hard. And boy, everybody was talking about and again, he keeps promising me he's going to bring his mom on sometime. But I think the world of his dad. My God, and everybody I talked to said, "Oh yeah," and I said, "Well, I can see where he gets it from Dad's side too, because Dad is such a wonderful man as an attorney, and Michael is a special individual, and just really, he is so charismatic and." It dresses to the nines. Just he looks the part of what I'm proud to say. He's my state senator.
Right.
He really is.
Michael absolutely. Michael Testa absolutely is the total package.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good looking.
He's even got trips.
He's right. Exactly. Trip is starting to look. The son. It's the son. Trip starting to look just like him. But yeah, I mean, he's smart.
Yeah.
So he's intelligent. He's well educated. He works harder than anybody I know and has more energy. I wish I had half his energy, even when I was his age. But he's got more energy than anybody I know. So he is in fact
already returned their vote by mail ballot.
So
which
is why he has been able to achieve the level of success that he has, even as a minority senator in Trenton. He's got an awful lot done. I mean, he's responsible for $100 million boardwalk renovation
that
bill.
was super.
That is
thank
a
God.
huge chunk of change to come into southeastern New Jersey that will benefit. Not only does it refurbish the boardwalk, of course, $100 million is a lot of money, so there's a lot of people that are going to do well as a result of that. But the ancillary effect of $100 million development on the boardwalk, the shopkeepers, the tourists, the hotels, the rental units, all of that will benefit from this. So I couldn't put a number on it. I mean, there are people that do that, but if it's a $100 million renovation bill, it might be $1 billion worth of economic development generation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, when you think about the millions and millions of dollars that the seashore community send to the state through sales tax and everything else, it's just phenomenal. And I'm telling you, folks, I had a home for 30 years in Sea Isle City, sold it in 2016 for $800,000. It's now worth over $2 million. All the properties have there's nothing under $1 million in Sea Isle. Yeah. And I mean, all the other communities as well. Just my God, Stone Harbor, as far as Avalon, I mean, it's just unreal. And that's great because I always joked around with Palugi that I always thought when I come back, my next life, I wanted to be the mayor of Avalon.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And of course, now I'd settle for Lenny's job at Sea Isle.
Yeah.
The rateable base is phenomenal. I mean, being the mayor of Millville, the rateable base, I did double it over the 12 years I was there, but it was so low. And that's what people don't understand. That's where your taxes come from, is your property ratables. And this is interesting. I still get flack on this from people. And somebody said to me, and they're probably right, they said, Jim, that's what cost you your election in 2019 or 2009. The mayor's thing, I finished second, is the New Jersey Motorsports Park. But I realized what they were going to bring was tourism tremendously to the area. And what's worked out, Joe, I don't know if you've been out there.
I have never been there.
We'll have to do a show there when they start out in the spring again.
That's a great idea.
What really happened, besides their building, their banquet rooms, all the different buildings they have out there, they started this thing called the exotic car garages. Oh my God, Joe, they must have 50, 60, 70 of them that they built at like 300-some thousand a piece. And they're just going right around the track. Every time I go out there, new group going up, new 10. And they are 100% rateable. No kids in school, no police or crime problems there. So all the money that they give goes to the city. Of course, the city has to split it with the school and the county.
Right.
But it's a phenomenal deal that they have done that I never even dreamed that would come about. I mean, that's millions and millions of dollars in ratables for the motorsports park. And I've met a lot of people who have come in from all over the East Coast that, are coming in as tourists and participating and all that kind of stuff. So for our area, it's a great tourist attraction. But what happens is, and I understand, it also causes noise. So the neighbors said that's noise is Jim Quinn's fault. I'm not going to vote for him anymore. Yeah. But I'm still happy as to what they brought to the community.
And that is always the trade-off when it comes to ratables, especially commercial or industrial ratables.
Yeah, exactly.
The neighbors are never happy with it, but then for the community as a whole, it generates economics, and it's
and
elected officials have to make tough decisions.
And what was there? So I think Joe Durrell actually mentioned this recently on Facebook. What was there was manure that stunk up the whole town. It was chicken manure, cow manure, whatever. That's what they would dump on that field. So, okay, it went from noise to a bad smell to noise. But even before that, though, Airwork Corporation, which was a great generator of jobs in Millville at the airport, they would run their test engines, and that would noise as well. So that was one of the things that went along with it. But this is, as we look now, the next, well, let's talk. George, do we have some stuff on Mayor Finucci's election as well? I mean, nobody was surprised that Mayor Finucci won.
No surprise there, and no surprise at the margin either. So I said a few minutes ago, when you get to 60-40, this is 70-30. Yeah. So there's no surprise at all that Mayor Finucci took 70% of the vote in Vineland, and of course, nobody deserves to have been reelected mayor more than Anthony Finucci.
And he
does.
Set a record.
He is the first third term. I know you're the third. You were a 3-term mayor of the city of Millville. But Anthony Finucci is now the first third term elected.
And he
mayor
could be the fourth and fifth.
He might be the fourth and the fifth. Right? Yeah. Well, I'm sure right now the mayor is happy to have another 4 years and doesn't want me or anybody else talking about 4 years from now.
I told him I had him on Thursday. I said, "My gosh, you look great after going through everything you went through."
Yeah.
And Bobby Romano is a friend of mine, but it's just.
Yeah.
Mayor Finucci's done a fabulous job, and I'm proud of him and what he's done and all the people. And he got his whole slate elected with him, which didn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's why the Mayor Romano didn't have a slate. He was kind of running.
Well,
on his own.
I had a friend of.
Right, and so there you have the slate. Right. I mean, that was Finucci's slate from top to bottom there. And, Myra Arroyo was running sort of an outlier. You can see what happened there. But so he did well. His entire slate did well.
Yes, he did. Cruz Gomez, top vote getter.
Cruz Gomez, whom I don't know.
I've heard of him, but I don't know him either. But
top vote getter.
Scott English had a plumbing supply place in Vineland, and he's a good guy. Was on the school board. Paul Spinelli's my man. He fills in for me. He does a great job.
Yeah,
and he's an educator.
I absolutely love Paul Spinelli.
And Al Vargas was there before, and Dr. Elizabeth Arthur, an educator, good lady. So it's a nice blend of people, too.
Right, it is. And that's why no one would really run against them. It's a great slate of folks who are doing a great job running Vineland, and it's easy for me to be happy with all of them because it's a nonpartisan town, of course, and you can see that the Team Finucci cuts across party lines, and just basically it's a good team for Vineland, and that's why nobody would mount any meaningful campaign against them, and why they won so handily, for sure.
Yeah, I remember Nick Jerome, who's a good friend of mine, came to me when I was mayor of Millville. I don't know who was running for the mayor of Vineland at the time, but he wanted to run for mayor of Vineland. And I said, well, do you have a slate? No. I said, Nick, you're not going to be able to win without a slate because they're going to bring votes to you, and it gives you more legitimacy than just running by yourself with nobody there on you. But Nick was very happy. In fact, Nick's wife was the cousin to Mike Pence.
Is that right?
Honest to God, Judy. Yeah, and what was wonderful for Nick, he moved to Mount Dora, Florida, and became the mayor of Mount Dora, Florida. Beautiful community. I'd get down and visit him, and we just had a great time. And seeing the downtown, and the people were very respectful. Hi, Mayor, that kind of thing. So he ended up winning in a lot of ways as it worked out for him.
Good for him.
Yep, we're talking with Joe Condo, who is the man for the Cumberland County Republican Party and South Jersey and all that, and some good things might be coming Joe's way too, besides all those things, but we won't talk about that. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after these messages.
C&H Disposal Service has provided customers with the best customer service possible since 1981. C&H Disposal Service provides trash removal, dumpster rentals, septic cleaning, repair and installation, septic system certifications, portable restroom rentals, and demolition. With great customer service and competitive pricing, C&H Disposal Service has you covered at the home and on the job. C&H Disposal Service. Stick with the best.
Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union is your hometown team for banking. We offer banking which is small town focused and customer based. We know you and we are for you. Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union is a nonprofit and federally insured. Solid as a Thunderbolt airplane, we are your team. Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union, 1601 Cedar Street.
Hi, I'm Bob Millard, President of Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union. Come see us and experience banking as it used to be.
Many people treat their health like a game. With the Complete Care Health Network, it's easy to start your healthcare journey. Our mental health services focus on the emotions and behaviors that affect your overall well-being and features psychiatric, counseling, and addiction services, including our exclusive Fresh Start program, designed to help combat the opioid epidemic in our communities, plus all the other specialties you expect from Complete Care. Level up your health with us. The Complete Care Health Network. No games, just great healthcare for everyone.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest is Joe Condo, who is the important person. He runs campaigns for the Republican Party in Cumberland County and in the second or first legislative district as well, which is a portion of Atlantic County, most of Cumberland except for the western townships, and of course all of Cape May County. Boy, Cape May County, I mean, Cumberland County is predominantly Republican. As we've talked about, 11 of the 14 municipalities now are Republican, and 6 of the 7 county commissioners are Republican. And, other than Celeste Riley being the county clerk and Bob Austino just upsetting, I would say, in the election, Joe Cilio, that's where you are with that. And you know what's impressive, too, and I got to tell you, this is the truth, as a person who's been a Democrat from 1981 when I switched from independent to a Democrat, and I'm amazed. And all those years, I never, ever saw a turnout like you guys bring out for this breakfast. I mean, never. You could put 10 of the meetings together, and maybe you come up with what?
Right.
I mean, you bring over 100 people sometimes.
So So typically our breakfast every other Saturday. Typically they're at Eastland, 8:30 in the morning, and anybody that wants to come, we draw the line with Democrats who want to come and try to disrupt things. But we have the breakfast every 2 weeks, and it's open as long as you're RSVP. And we usually have them at Eastland, and we'll draw anywhere from 80 to 100 people sometimes. We branched out starting last year, and every once in a while we'll have one at the Morristown Fire Hall.
I'll probably bring you 200.
100. Fred Hunt, shout out to Fred Hunt, the Republican chairman in Commercial Township, right? Which Commercial Township, by the way, right?
Yeah.
I know
Mike Visser was my buddy.
But even Mike saw the light and became a Republican.
He called me, he told me that. He said, Jim, I saw the light, I'm a Republican.
That's what Commercial Township was one of our more challenging townships, and we were told we would never flip Commercial Township, and then right now it's 3-0 counting Vizard, but even if Mike hadn't flipped, it would still be Republican 2-1. So though Joe Claudy and the Rod Sutton, the mayor now, and Mike had something to do with that. Nobody has the enthusiasm of Fred Hunt, who
maybe you can do a show and he'll come be a guest on your show, because he doesn't return my phone calls.
He doesn't return your phone calls?
I love Fred Hunt. I saw him at an event recently. I said, "Oh, Freddie,
we'll make sure you have his phone number, and second, I'll call him as soon as I leave the studio tonight." So I'm pretty sure I do. If I have the right phone number, if I hosted a show with Fred Hunt, I don't know what that would do to your ratings. You might not be allowed back on the air again. but
no, I love Fred. Everybody loves Fred. I mean, you know that. Yeah. What a great guy. I saw him over at the Town Tavern one night, and he gave me his number, and then I called, but he's not returned it. So.
Our last breakfast, we had a pep rally before the 164 people showed up at the Morristown Fire Hall. So it was a great turnout. And of course, the speech was now leave and go vote, because early voting had started
that's
that
right.
day. It happened
Yeah,
to
it's
be the
probably the
Saturday
day
the
I
early
voted
voting
on
started.
Saturday, I think. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, we watched the vote all day in the various districts around the county, and we were really excited at the voter turnout. It was high where we wanted it to be high,
right.
Not so high where we had had hoped it wouldn't be too terribly high, and we really were optimistic all day long about the results. So it's really no surprise to me that Trump carried. Donald Trump, by the way, is the first Republican presidential candidate. You mentioned earlier the Democrats usually win.
Right.
He is the first Republican presidential candidate to carry Cumberland County since 1988.
Wow.
George Bush. Yep. So he's and yeah, so you see the Cumberland County vote. I mean, it was 2,100 votes, almost to the vote, is a pretty decent victory. So it's almost 4 points right here.
Yeah, right.
Which is 9 points better than he did statewide.
Yes,
So
right.
he did 9 points better here than he did statewide.
Yes.
So it's a real tribute to.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, Michael Testa's connection to Donald Trump. Certainly is helpful, and Testa and Van Drew pulled out the votes, obviously, for our party at the federal level.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, it's like Jeff Van Drew. He'll be there as long as he wants to be there. I'm sure Mike Testa, the same thing, as long as he wants to keep running.
Right.
And that's, a nice situation to be in. But the good point about it is they do the job for us.
Yeah.
So it's not just popularity, it's also production. And as you talked about, all the things that Mike has done for especially Wildwood and Ocean City for the.
Well, you had mentioned earlier about Cape May County and how much they, there was a thing, I don't know the numbers. I'm not even going to pretend to know the numbers. But one of the things was always the amount of money that Cape May County sent to Trenton.
Yes.
Was very small compared to the amount
What
of
they
money that comes back.
No, it's reversed.
Well,
they sent a lot, didn't they? And then they got a little back. I thought.
If that's not what I said, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, they would send a lot of money to Trenton and got very little back.
Yes.
But now, I mean, when you hear about $100 million boardwalk bill, you can see that Senator Testa and his running mates, Eric Simonson and Antoine McClellan, they're bringing home some of that money that the Southeast has been sending to Trenton and been neglected for far too long.
Yeah.
So even though I realize that Jeff Van Drew as the senator was also always very good at getting stuff for us, and of course he's a Cape May County native. So we've been really blessed in this part of the world to have good legislators from both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, we really have been. I mean, there's no question about it. And the election was surprising a little bit to me, and I'm saying you and I probably shared the same surprises, that the way it ended up. But as I said, I like all 6 of them. I'm happy for the 3 that won, and it's always next year if you lost. There's always an election every year for
You've been in and around politics as long as I have, and the next cycle, you take the day after Election Day off, and the next cycle begins on Thursday. So, of course, Doug Albrecht and Tory Lodes are up for re-election this year to the Board of Commissioners, and we're gonna hit the ground running.
Well, and they're both popular people. That's for sure.
Right. So, anything can happen in a presidential election.
Yeah.
But trust
How's
me,
the gubernatorial usually go?
Gubernatorial will go our way.
Okay.
I mean, 2021 was when Cilio and Romero first got elected.
Gotcha.
We won big in 2021, I expect. And this is the presidential election. I mean, let's face it, the presidential election of 2020 was an aberration because of the all vote by mail ballot during COVID. So
that's right.
No responsible political analysis looks at the comparison to 2020. But the comparison to 2016, our party Cumberland County did exactly the same thing in 2016. We split. All right, so if I remember correctly, Joe Sparacio got elected.
My man.
I know you love Joe. I know you love Joe. Joe Sparacio got elected. We won 1 seat that year.
Yeah.
2019, when it wasn't a presidential election, but 2019 when Doug Albrecht first got elected, we split with Darlene Barber.
Yeah.
So there will be those years where they're going to be close. I mean, certainly the Democrats didn't blow us out this year.
No.
They picked off a seat by 50 votes.
Right.
And so next year in the gubernatorial election, things will go back to the new normal. And the Republicans will almost certainly rout the Democrats in Cumberland County the next 3 years.
Do you think Chitterelli will be the gubernatorial candidate?
I think he will be. I hope he will be. I would like for him to be. I would like for the other 3 candidates to get out of the race so that we can, for once in our lives, coalesce around a singular candidate. But primaries are funny things. And everybody's posturing now as a result of this election. It's amazing to me how many people are responsible for getting Donald Trump elected president. it's really like ridiculous, honestly, the number of people organizationally that are taking credit for Donald Trump's victory. So now they're all emboldened, and they all want their gubernatorial candidate, and I just like, here we go again. The good news is this is an open gubernatorial election. Now, historically, open gubernatorial elections have not gone well for Republicans. The last time the Republicans won an open gubernatorial election was 1981, when Tom Kaine beat Jim Florio, the first time Jim Florio ran.
Oh, wow. Jim lost before?
Jim lost to Tom Kaine by literally, I think it was 1,800 votes or something. Don't hold me to the... It was like 1,800 votes.
You know who was my very favorite governor for the state of New Jersey all time? Tom Kaine.
Tom Kaine?
I love that man. When I was, in fact, 81, he came down. I was running for office, and he actually went with me. We went down to see the prisons or whatever. But, oh, my God, what a nice man, folks. He was just one of the nicest people. And then I was on a bank board, and we went to a convention, and he was a speaker. So we got to get together and have dinner and stuff like that. And I saw young Tom, his son, one day. And
Who
I said,
just, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, that was one of the swing districts in the country.
Yes.
And he prevailed by, I think, 4 or 5 points.
Yeah. In fact, I said to him, I said, you know who my favorite governor is? He said, who's that? I said, your dad. He said, well, and then he came back to me. He said, yeah, he's mine too. I said, I'm sure he would be.
Well, I owe Governor Kaine a lot too, because when his reelection, so he won in 1981. He beat Jim Florio by a pittance of votes. But that's the last time a Republican governor has won in an open election. Christie Whitman won in the midterms.
Yeah, that's
right. And Chris Christie won in the midterms.
Yeah.
And this is why we had hoped that Jack Ciattarelli could have pulled it off in the Murphy midterms a couple of years ago.
That's a good point.
So, but Tom Kaine got reelected in '85 by a landslide margin.
Well, I remember
and that's
that.
the first time we picked up 3 Republican seats in Camden County in 1985 in the Kaine landslide.
Well, you know, that's interesting you said that. This is a true story. Jim Parent was our election person, very, very bright when it came to all that election processing stuff. And Ed Salmon and I were, I think, maybe in the state of New Jersey, the only 2 freeholders who got reelected. And I won by like 300 votes because Tom Kaine's landslide, as you mentioned. I forgot about that.
Right.
And and then Jim said to me, he said, you survived Tom Kaine's landslide, you'll never lose again. Well, 6 years later, you know what happened. That's how I became friends. I got my butt beat, and you were smiling, happy. I won in Camden County. Quinn's out in Cumberland County.
Right. Well, you ran in 1991.
Yes.
Right. So I ran in 1990.
Yeah, I know you won in 90, but you were freeholder director when I was.
I was freeholder director while you were running.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was director in 89, 90, and then 91. I just ran and lost. To the Florio backlash, which was.
And thereby, between the two of us sitting here, you having a career as a Democrat, I having a career as a Republican, we could tell for 40 years worth of election stories who's winning, who's losing, who's winning, who's losing, and the pendulum keeps swinging. So
boy, that's the truth.
But it will keep swinging.
It's certainly swinging Republican.
Right. A good year, obviously, nationwide for the Republican Party. Nobody expected President Trump to carry all 7 swing states, and it was just won the popular vote by a significant margin. And so 312 electoral votes. And so say what you will about the Electoral College, and we could spend an hour talking about the Electoral College, but say what you will about the Electoral College when the popular vote is that. The Electoral College vote is a rout, and the popular vote was like almost 2 full points. In this day and age, that's an awful lot. So.
Yeah, it sure was. 76 million.
It was a
clear
mandate to send President Trump back to the White House.
We look at that, and folks, take a look at that map. Look how few blue states there are. Obviously, in Northeast, there's a lot of blue, and they're small. And then you only have Colorado, New Mexico, California, Oregon, and Washington. The rest and Minnesota and Illinois out. Everything else is red everywhere. I mean, that's
right. When you see the county, my favorite memes these days is when you see the county red blue map by county. It looks like the Verizon wireless coverage map. It's just great. But the real surprise was the United States Senate, because the Republicans end up now with 53 seats in the U.S. Senate, where everybody expected the Republicans to end up with 50 or 51.
Right. Yeah.
The fact that, of course, New Jersey will send Andy Kim. Now, Andy Kim was my congressman when I was living in Burlington County.
Right.
So it's no surprise to see him, and of course he's an Obama acolyte. So it's no surprise to see him win that race. Little disappointed in the margin, but it's what it is. So Curtis Bashaw didn't quite do as well as President Trump did in New Jersey, but.
Was there a reason why? I mean, in all fairness, Bashaw had never been in government, never been in politics, and this year of all years, I mean, I don't know anybody. That's actually Jeff Van Drew. I think would have done very, very well.
Yeah.
Maybe even Senator Testa. But again, I would have thought maybe somebody in a more populated area, like Ocean County is, I know, big Republican county. I'm trying to think of what Republican counties you had up. That somebody was maybe a state senator that could have won, because that's the United States Senate.
It's United States Senate, and I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say anything negative about Curtis Bashaw
No, he's a nice guy,
or his campaign or the selection process. But there were only two candidates in the Republican primary, Kurt Bashaw and Christine Serrano-Glassner.
Oh, I see.
And so
That's strange.
and so though Christine was endorsed by President Trump, Curtis Bashaw prevailed in the primary. So it is a little bit surprising to me that the candidate who emerged from the Republican primary ends up doing not quite as well by the end of the election among Republicans.
Yeah.
So it's.
Well, I know his name, but how much name recognition did he have statewide? I'm just really surprised, but maybe he did. Maybe
but let's also not underestimate Andy Kim. He's a career politician stemming from Washington.
Yes.
I don't know that was hung around him like an anchor around his neck like I would have. But that means he knows campaigns. I mean, come on. Andy Kim beat Tammy Murphy out for the nomination for U.S. Senate by using legal wrangling with the Attorney General that Governor Murphy appointed. So right, we could talk about those shenanigans forever. But he got his Attorney General to lay down and not defend the state law to get the ballot changed to give him an advantage over the governor's wife. So he knows what he's doing.
That's for sure. And
he knows what he's doing.
He seems like a nice fellow. So he's our United States Senator.
Right, so he'll be our United States Senator. But the good news for my party is that he'll be one of 47
That's true.
on that side of the aisle. Now, I understand that the Pennsylvania race triggered a mandatory recount, and there's all kinds of fights over the Pennsylvania Senate race right now, but I'm quite sure Dave McCormick will come out of that ahead, and Casey's people are doing what they have to do, which is to make sure that every ballot that should be counted is counted, and leave no stone unturned. You can't just give up a United States Senate seat, especially when Casey's been incumbent, 12-year incumbent.
Wow.
I think 12. It may even be 18, but I think it's 12. 12-year incumbent can't give up a seat. So that was the big surprise to me of the night, the margin by which President Trump won not only the Electoral College but also the popular vote and the Republican control of the Senate. Now, the House, the Republicans might be losing ground in the House. They'll still have control.
Oh, okay.
They'll still have control. The Republican control for sure. The Republicans will have control. They'll have at least 219 votes. But they have 221 now, I think. So we'll see. There's still races too close to call, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I have to be honest with you that I don't like is there is really no checks and balances now. I mean, you have the executive branch. Now, with Trump in charge, he's everything. He controls Congress, controls the Senate. There is no second opinions. It's what he wants to do, he's going to be able to do. Because God bless you, if you're not a Trump person and you're in the government, he's got names for you, and you won't be around much longer.
Well, so here's a couple comments on that, right? Okay. And boy, I could do a whole show on that. But I agree with you. I see a problem with our government when the president and the Senate and the House are all in the hands of the same party. That is a weakness in our form of government. The good news for the country is that, as we saw, though it was characterized as dysfunctionality, and maybe on some level it was, 218, 219, 220 Republicans in the House, all it takes is 2 or 3 to say we're not going along. And they're not going along. And the House of Representatives being the people's house, you're going to find that that's quite likely to happen. So the Senate will almost certainly have the votes to confirm, for the most part. There's already some dissension about some of the appointees. But the Senate will almost certainly have the votes to confirm what the president wants to do. But the people's house is almost certainly going to give him some trouble on some legislation, because there's going to be just a handful of Republicans that rebel. The controversial statement that you've opened the door for me to make is I'm hearing rumblings among some Democrats that they should form a shadow government. And that's being beaten back by conservatives. And I don't think they're wrong, the Democrats.
Huh.
Because
what do you mean by a shadow government?
Right. So if you think about the British Parliament, the majority party, or the so-called government, right? Because Parliament's very different from our form of government. It looks like it might be the same, but it's not. It's a very different form of government. The government is formed by the majority party. And so they have, for example, a prime minister.
Right.
Well, the minority party, or the so-called opposition, has a shadow prime minister.
Oh.
The person that they name, we would have, for example, a majority leader and a minority leader in the Senate.
Right.
Well, what we don't have is somebody named from the minority party to be the shadow president, the counterbalance to the elected president,
right.
or the shadow director of transportation, secretary of transportation, the shadow secretary of state. They're not real positions,
right?
But it would identify Jim Quinn. You're going to be the shadow secretary of transportation. So your job for your party is to challenge the majority party's the actual secretary of transportation, to continually, and the reason I like it, because then we're continually
keeps them on their toes.
It keeps them on their toes, continually putting out both sides of the message all the time, and this is what I like. And some people would say up to this point, well, it happens anyway. What it does is it vests in one person. In my example, Jim Quinn, you're now the expert, and more importantly, the spokesperson for your party when it comes to this particular aspect of the government. So if you're the shadow secretary of transportation, you're speaking on behalf of your party and what your party would do with transportation that the majority party isn't currently doing, or vice versa.
Right.
So that's a really controversial issue, and I'm likely the first Republican in the United States of America to actually embrace the Democrats' plan for a shadow government, but I do think it's the right thing to do.
Well,
so you might not see me again after tonight, but I am a big fan of the shadow government. So.
So now that, Millville's is coming out next year, I was trying to think of, do you take a little bit of a break for yourself, or do you go right back into doing your thing as your
I have the poor fortune of having no life, and so I jump right back into it. As I say, I always take the day after Election Day off. There's a couple of good reasons for that, only one of which we need to talk about. But I always take the day after the election off, but the next cycle starts on Thursday. And so we're already moving forward with the next cycle of the election. We have to make sure that the municipalities continue to hold firm. As you know, we weren't even challenged in only the townships are partisan, but in the 11 townships we were only challenged in one.
And then you were supporting.
And they were supporting Joe Maletta, who was successful, by the way. Joe Maletta did.
Yeah,
so the only Democrat in the county that won is the one that I was hoping would win. So that having been said, we have to shore up our defenses on the county level. We've got a lot of work to do. The work doesn't, especially when you're in control of the government, the work doesn't end.
Well, I got to tell you where I was Saturday night, where you and I had dinner many months ago at Marigny Savoy Inn. It was my cousin Harry Curley, who was the mayor of Vineland back when I was freeholder director, actually in the late 80s. It was his 90th birthday party, and we had the Rose Room, and had a wonderful time. Happy birthday, Harry, on Sunday or Saturday was his birthday, and his family, talk about big families. My grandmother and his dad were brother and sister, and there were 12. They even outdid the Riley family. They had 12. Yeah. So it was nice to see a lot of my cousins. And
my father was the youngest of 11.
Was he really?
Yeah, my father was the youngest of 11.
Jeez.
So, he was the seventh son of my grandfather and the youngest of 11.
Wow, that's fantastic. It's a big family. I only had my sister and I.
Yeah.
My mother said...
my grandfather was a farmer from Waterford Township up in Camden County, so he made it very clear to my father, I had you because you're cheap labor. I think it scarred my father, which then scarred me. But that's what it is.
That's interesting. But... congratulations to you and Senator Testa and all the Republican elected officials on their victory. And as I said, I knew Trump was going to win Cumberland County. Yeah. I wasn't sure on the local elections, but as I said, I really do like all 6 of the people. And
We have and always have had a good working relationship with Celeste Riley, and I'm sure that will continue going forward. I'm very optimistic about a good working relationship with her. I mean, she's professional, as we discussed earlier. She's been around in public service forever. Tony Romero, the first Latino ever elected to the Board of County Commissioners. He's been the deputy director for the last 2 years, so it's no surprise that he was reelected by the kind of numbers that he was reelected by. So we look forward to continue to work with Tony. And Bob Ostino is the only one of the candidates I don't know. Every time we see each other, I don't think he knows who I am. I don't think we've ever spoken, but we will congratulate Bob and welcome him to the board, and to the extent that he wants to be cooperative, we'll be cooperative.
Well, in fairness to Joe Cilio, that's a tough guy to run against because he's been at 15 years in government, and it makes that long term, as Celeste has been a long time as well, and it's tough to beat somebody once they've been in for years.
And we were not favored to beat Sheriff Ostino last year, but Mike Donato won.
The general did.
But General Donato became Sheriff Donato. There's an inside.
For my friends on the Republican side.
But so General Donato became Sheriff Donato, and so
what a great guy
he is. Mike is a great guy. He's hard work.
He's going to South Carolina, by the way.
He is going to South Carolina
for
his daughter. His daughter is a field hockey star.
And they're
headed to the NCAA Final Four.
It's wonderful.
So I wouldn't miss that for the world.
No, God, and I give him a lot of credit to stay with the family and the kids. But what a wonderful man. Almost as nice as you, buddy.
Well,
God bless
you, sir.
you.
Always great to be here.
Thank you.
God bless you
Thanks
too. We'll see you again sometime.
I certainly hope so.
For sure.
Thank you, George Gachia, for producing the show. Joe Condo's been my guest. I want to remind you now, coming up, it's the Powder Puff football is going on now at Millville High School. It starts at 6 o'clock. You'll see it live here on Channel 22, and hope you'll enjoy it. Stay with us. That's what's coming your way next. For Joe Condo, I'm Jim Quinn. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you soon. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC. Programming that serves the South Jersey market.